Good evening. Welcome to the City of New Carrollton Council meeting, August 19th. We're starting at 7:09. Had a couple delays here. We can begin with Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll ask our military rep to lead us. If you would, please, Lincoln.
We have to do. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, three quick things for housekeeping. We're not going to dwell on them. I just want people to know Cynthia called me. She said that it was a family emergency heading to the hospital. So I don't know if that's Cynthia or if it's family, but she said she may not get here. So that's a possibility that she won't show up. And she asked if we have anything to vote on. We only have a consent agenda right now that we postponed so she can participate. I think that's only courteous to her. Item number 2 I have on my list here is that item 7 on the agenda needs to be deleted because that item, we didn't get the full development of what needs to be discussed. So that's still being researched. In place of that, I want you to write in item 7, the Commission on Charter Revisions. And that will be the 10 minutes, okay? And the third thing is I'm going to call a meeting for Wednesday, August 25th, for the meeting that we postponed because we didn't have enough information from our contractor, BRC. I don't want to discuss that right now, but get back to me with your availability. We have to ask Cynthia too. So let me know your availability. It will be a 7 o'clock meeting, August 25th, and it would be focused on the budget. Those 3 things are set. Now we can move on to
the 23rd of Tuesday.
If I have the wrong date here, 24th I thought was Thursday. Monday's 24th.
26th.
School starts the 26th. Thank you for correcting me. So Wednesday the 26th. I got the first day of school mixed up. The first day of school is the 25th on Tuesday, not Monday. Okay. Now we're going to have presentations tonight. The first one is from Just Serve City, and Maisha is online with us, so she can guide us. Maisha. Is she there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. Well, what's with Just Serve?
They should be in the audience.
Yes, they are.
Oh, they're here. Okay, I'm sorry. Please, we have Agnelli with some hearing disabilities, so we use these. One is up there at the podium. You're welcome to use the podium, but you need to be near one of these mics for the presentation.
Okay, great. Is it in the podium already?
We have one at the podium.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's just hidden down here.
Can you
Thank
put it
you.
standing up, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us a few minutes to talk tonight. For any of you that aren't aware of what Just Serve is, it's actually a platform, justserve.org, where we connect volunteers who are looking for service hours with nonprofits, community organizations, businesses who are looking for volunteers to fill those service hours. So as part of our program in Maryland, we have awarded New Carrollton a Just Serve City Award. And we wanted to say thank you to you for all that you do, and to welcome you to the Just Serve City program. Through the good works that you're already doing here in New Carrollton, you're building a social fabric that's connecting the community with the people who live in your community. You're investing in New Carrollton by transforming your self-interest into connectedness and taking care of the people in your community. We want to thank you for acting as a champion for volunteerism, for promoting the nonprofits within your city limits, your community organizations, and sharing opportunities for service and recognizing the service that your citizens take part in. Your critical role makes the city of New Carrollton such a wonderful place to live and work. So with all that said, we just have a little certificate for you, and I have some swag bags for everybody. So just wanted to present this.
Well, thank
My
you.
name is Mary Nemhard, and how we came across this program is because Governor Westmore contacted our office. One of his office contacted the city and he is championing for more cities in Maryland to be a Just Serve city. And that's how we became in contact.
And you're already doing what all the Just Serve cities are doing.
Yes.
You're promoting nonprofits, you're promoting volunteerism, you're getting your citizens involved in making it.
We have a photographer, Araceli,
Yes.
and we have a few people to give a round of applause to the
Also,
mayor.
I also wanted to say that we also met Just Serve when we went to Utah for the NLC conference.
Yes.
And that's where we actually signed
Oh, that's great.
for Just Serve. So I wanted to also thank Maisha for sitting in and being able to come and visit with you guys
Yes.
while we were in Ocean City. So
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
appreciated meeting her. It was really nice.
Now a round of applause for the mayor and for. And what we're going to time minutes to Lincoln or Brianna or Agnelli, do you have any questions you want to ask? I have one, but go ahead, Agnelli.
Are there volunteer programs and people that come to the city would be joining that platform?
It's free. You just go to justserve.org and then you put in your parameters, like what you're looking for in terms of how many hours you want to volunteer, what location you want to volunteer. You can even pare it down to what interests you have. Like if you're interested in working with animals, then that may pop up a humane society that's looking for volunteers to give their time.
Can we put it in the next printed bulletin of the city?
Probably too late
and
for the
in
next one,
or two
unless
of
they
the
do.
constant contact. So our residents that are already subscribed to our communications can learn about Just Serve.
It's great for large groups, small groups, individuals, people who are grandparents that are just looking to get out of the house for a couple of hours each day. It really is an easy to use platform that helps connect people with what the city needs.
It sort of grew out of a notion years ago of people saying, I want to do something, but what? And how do I find it?
Mhm.
And, how do we connect up willingness with opportunities? And that's what the Just Serve platform provides. It's very basic in its conception.
Yeah.
But as you all know, the sort of power of volunteerism and working, it can really raise a community and bind a community at a time, particularly at times where everything seems to be pulling communities apart. This is one of these things that can bring communities together. It's been a real
They're all
blessing.
volunteers here.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
I had assumed, yes.
Brianna, you have any questions for them?
No questions, but thank you for collaborating with us and giving
And Lincoln, you
our
have any
residents
questions?
an opportunity to do this.
Actually, my question was answered before the council meeting, but for the benefit of the group, could you tell us which other municipalities you've worked with in the state of Maryland?
Sure, Tacoma Park most recently, but I'm based geographically, so I am the eastern side of Montgomery County and then this part of PG. But on the deck this year is also Annapolis, Bowie, Waldorf. So there are lots of cities throughout the state that are heeding the governor's desire to institute programs like this to get people involved.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Okay, and I'm just curious that we have a lot of high school students
Yes.
who need community service hours, and you work with them on
We
that.
work with anybody. We don't have any limitations in terms of size of group or age.
Those community service hours have to be certified by organizations, and I guess you find the
And they've all
organization.
been vetted. So
Okay,
all the
okay.
organizations that post things, I review them to make sure that the organization is a nonprofit, is offering service hours that are eligible for anybody who wants to apply. So yes.
So thank you for being with us. Another round of applause, guys. It's a great program.
We'll be working with the volunteers and all the nonprofits that we have in the city of Newcastle. What we'll do is have those information uploaded to.
Perfect.
Just-
And if you need help with the technology side of it, just let me know. I'm happy to help step in whatever you need.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Now, the next item on the agenda, I have a half hour dedicated to this. And if you pick up the packet, it starts on page 4 of 608. And
Turn
it
your
doesn't go,
Bibles.
it doesn't go to 608, but it does go pretty far. And I have a half hour, so I'll ask everyone to cooperate with the presenters and the council. Let's try to keep within a half hour. We got a packed agenda. This is Endesco. Now, are they online? Is that what's going on here, Maisha?
They're online, and so, if you, Mr. Joe, if you all go to the bottom of your screen,
Mayor.
you'll see a little computer with an up arrow, and that's how you can share your presentation.
Note your questions, please, council members. I know you'll have them. Oh, thank you, Ms. Swag. Thank you for being here with us. That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, we're
Got
one
to work?
short.
Yeah,
One
okay.
short.
He has the last one over
Thank you.
there.
Joe, you see how to share your screen?
We can leave one for Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia,
Yeah.
we'll get it to her.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Thank
Thank you for being here. Okay. Is Nadesco ready? We should
Joe.
see
Yeah.
the screen.
Do you see how to share your screen?
Wait a minute, what's wrong here? Let's see.
At the bottom of your screen, you'll see like, it looks like a little monitor with an up arrow. If you click that. There you go. You're sharing.
Okay. Okay, I guess you can hear me.
Let me go to the very beginning. There we go.
Okay, good evening.
There it is.
Thank you for allowing us to give the opportunity to present our parking study process and study recommendations. Next slide. The major tasks that we conducted as part of the study was we held local stakeholder meetings. We conducted online community opinion surveys. We inventoried the legal on-street parking areas, surveyed the parking utilization of the on-street parking areas, reviewed parking regulations and enforcement, and finally formulated program recommendations. Next. In terms of the stakeholder meetings, we got feedback from the mayor, council members, public works director, and actually we also interviewed the police chief and got more information regarding basically the operation of the parking and revenues, etc., from the police chief. The basic conclusion was that the existing streets were not designed for today's parking demand, creating congestion and safety issues. There are multiple factors that drive the parking issues. Number one is vehicle ownership, that many families have more than 1, 2, 3, and even multiple vehicles. And there are commercial vehicles that are parking in residential areas, and of course, limited street space. There are also residential parking and safety concerns, which are centered around the neighborhoods with limited parking, and especially on narrow streets. The desire is for more structured, equitable regulations, such as clearer commercial vehicle rules and more consistent enforcement. And finally, the need to maximize existing space and improve clarity through updated signage, curb modifications, and possibly the creation of potential off-street parking locations. Next slide. We also conducted an online community opinion survey. This survey was put up on the city's website in English, Spanish, and in French. And here's some of the major results from the community survey. Parking problems are localized, not widespread. 33% of respondents experience occasional parking issues, while 45% of respondents rarely or never experience parking problems. Another concern was illegal poor parking is their primary concern, and that includes blocking or access encroachment to driveway access. And then, of course, commercial oversized vehicles parking was the most commonly reported issues. Another one was desire for enactment of a residential permit parking program. Another issue was that enforcement isn't as effective as needs to be. I think 73% rated the need to improve parking enforcement as a high priority. The overall survey results indicated a need for more targeted enforcement, which include overall parking problems areas were limited to only a small number of streets areas. Community-wide, only about 48% of curbside parking area parking capacity was found to be occupied. Next slide. On the left side, you see a map of the city. And in terms of conducting the surveys, we split it up into 4 different blocks. That's just labeled block 1, block 2, block 3, and block 4, which is on the south side. The table on the right side provides some of the survey results. For example, in block 1, there were approximately 1,211 available parking spaces, and the vehicle occupancy was 558 vehicles. That included automobiles, pickup trucks, and vans. And there was a 1 box truck parked in that block. So the total parked vehicle was 559, which was approximately 46% of occupancy. Moving down the line, block 2, total available spaces 1,568, total parked vehicles 779, one of which was again a box truck. So about 50% of spaces were occupied. Block 3, about 3,702 spaces. Total occupancy 1,651, which is 45%, and no trucks. Block 4, which is the most, I guess, the busiest parking area, there were 286 total parking available spaces. 246 spaces were occupied, and 1 was a box truck. So the total was 247, resulting in 86% occupancy. As a total in the city, there was 48% occupancy. Now, this survey was conducted on a Saturday, beginning about 10 p.m. That was in September of 25. Now, we did do a secondary survey in April, which was really not part of our scope. But we surveyed about 30 blocks in April on a Thursday, a weekday. And the results were pretty consistent. On Thursday, in the 30 blocks that we surveyed, we had about 41% occupied spaces compared to the 48% on a Saturday citywide. Next slide, please. I think Greg is going to present these slides.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Greg Schumate. I'm with the firm Desmond. We were sub-consultants to Indesco. Part of our scope was to examine or benchmark the circumstances, parking circumstances in New Carrollton with other communities. The communities we select, of course, are all in Maryland, and to the extent possible, we tried to identify communities that were similar in size, and these are all mostly in Central Maryland. Some of you are probably familiar with them. Based on population, they're similar size, but what really drives parking is the land use makeup of the communities. And the land use in New Carrollton is unique because it's kind of more or less a bedroom community. It doesn't have a large concentration of commercial districts or institutional districts where paid parking is commonly found. But this information tells you the makeup of the various cities that we selected, what kind of on-street program they had in place, how they enforced it, if they made permits available, did they own and operate off-street lots and garages. As you can see under on-street, for New Carrollton, everything's free, nothing's regulated. There are time limits for the duration of parking at any one location without interruption at 72 hours, and that seemed to be something that many communities have put in place. The closest thing to New Carrollton was both Glendale and White Oak. The scope of their programs was very similar to what exists in New Carrollton, but Hattiesville, Hyattsville, and Tacoma Park both had a little bit more of an extensive parking program and an enforcement program, and you could see that they also had residential and business permits in some cases, and meters. The other thing we looked at is how those cities minister their parking program, and what was the scope of the parking programs. In all cases, the police department seemed to have a key role in at least in enforcement. And some of them handled their own adjudication of fees and fines and citations. Many communities, it seems like all of them had booting capability or towing capabilities, and only a couple had booting operations that they at least sometimes employed. Their fines were in the range of what's common for communities of this size. And late fees for not paying fines on time is also a common practice to discourage people who completely ignore paying fines and try to bypass that obligation. Some communities had, at least Tacoma Park and Hattiesville, they had an actual administrators or managers or task force that focus on parking. This can be helpful in terms of educating the community, sending out circulars and information about parking, and keeping the community informed. Also, it can be a vehicle to provide community residents with a panel that can at least respond to some of the issues that they have, and perhaps even work with the community to develop new strategies. Loading zones aren't really an issue in New Carrollton. Those are usually in commercial districts, and there were no EV stations or of that sort in New Carrollton. But that's just a snapshot of some similarly sized Maryland communities that we benchmarked to see what other communities are doing. The other thing is we looked at all of the citations that were written in New Carrollton for the calendar year 2025. Not all citations are programmatically related in terms of what you see in terms of compliant or the compliance or non-compliance. Sometimes it's people don't have the right license plate, or they don't have license plates, or so forth. So what we did was highlight those citations that were most was the high volume citations, but also we highlighted here the citations that relate to the kind of parking problem that we've been told exists and we've observed exists in the area. And we've highlighted those in yellow. Clearly, the highest volume, surprisingly, at least the dollar value, but the highest volume of citations was related to expired plates. So for some reason, there are a lot of vehicles in 2025 that either fail to renew their plates on time. The second highest area of violation were fire lanes, and that's clearly a safety issue. But then you get down to the hours parking overtime for 72 hours or more of uninterrupted parking time, and abandoned and unregistered vehicles being stored on or being found on street, no parking zones. All of those fell around the same volume area. All in all, there were about 600 citations issued, which would come down to about 7 citations per day over a typical calendar year of 5 enforcement days. So, that's not a lot of citations, but that's also based on information and feedback we've gotten from stakeholder meetings. The problem seemed maybe we just have some very vocal residents that are repeatedly making points of complaints about parking on street, but the scope of the problem is not reflected in the amount of citations that are being written, and we don't know what the disconnect either is. Is that just a matter of a posture of somewhat leniency on the part of the police department when it comes to citing residents that they know and see all the time, or what, or only the worst offenders? We're not sure. There could be a lot of reasons for the amount of citations that are written on a daily or weekly basis. But this is a statistics, and we have to delve into it and talk further with the police and look at what's really going on to see if there's a leniency built into the habits and practices of enforcement by the police department, or simply just these are the numbers and maybe the scope of the problems somewhat overstated, or there's some just vocal residents that repeatedly make a point of complaining about what's going on.
Before you leave that chart, excuse me.
Yes.
I want to save a question for the end, but did you say that was for 1 year? Was that a 12-month period? I don't see it on the chart, and I thought you said 1 year.
Yes, this is a full year. At least that's what our understanding was. 2025.
That's all of 2025. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We didn't look into how many of those citations were paid or anything. The adjudication and payment and collections wasn't a matter for us to focus in on, but these are the numbers. You can see that the amount of payments, though, relative in this column versus the amount of citations issued versus the amount of that were paid, it looks, you could say maybe a little less than 40% or so of the citations that were issued were paid without delay, it seems like. So in summary, some of the problem we saw, there's some very narrow streets in some parts of the neighborhood. And on those streets, people do park on both sides of the street. When this occurs and the street's very narrow, you have to sort of pull to the side to let oncoming traffic get through and then go on your way. So it sort of interrupts the flow of traffic. Certainly would certainly impact any large safety vehicles or fire vehicles if they had to get through. It just is a problem, and we could see where that could really inconvenience residents. And that's something that needs to be looked at. We would think that with the allowance of parking on both sides of the street should only be considered when there's ample right of way for two cars to pass along with a car parked on one side of the street. If you can't have two cars pass each other with cars parked on both curbs, then you're going to end up with this kind of problem. In the cul-de-sac areas, they're not designed and intended to allow for head-in parking, which you see in this second image in the center top. That's improper parking, shouldn't be allowed, and it creates a hazard for children playing in a neighborhood that can dash in between cars. It's just it obstructs lines of sight. I imagine some residents probably don't appreciate, neighbors don't appreciate when this occurs. Driveway access. You can see here on the far upper right, cars are parked real close to the apron of driveways. And if you're backing out, you shouldn't have to sort of be so cautious not to have a fender bender with a car that's really too close to your driveway. That occurs a lot, and it is a problem. Down in the lower right, you're seeing parking again on two sides of streets, and you can see cars parked up on the curb. This is a kind of one of those molded curbs and not a typical kind of curb. So it allows cars to park up on the curb, but again, that they're doing that because of the width of the street right away. And then lastly, commercial vehicles that are parking, whether they're doing providing services to the owners of vehicles and the equipment they're using, providing services to residents, or if they happen to be area residents that are parking their work vehicles on street, there seemed to be a big problem with that occurring, and these images sort of depict that issue. I would think that most of the commercial work, people servicing residents in the area, doing lawns and so forth, when that occurs, it's during off-peak hours in the middle daytime hours. So this is probably not as much of a problem, except that when it occurs on streets where there's just no clear passageway for two oncoming cars. In closing, here are our recommendations that might be appropriate for you to consider, given the circumstances. In terms of adequate clearance from driveways and things like that, where cars aren't encroaching on access and turn movements in and out of driveways, you can paint stripes. It can be a costly expense, but these are 3 images that show that you can make tick marks or just draw lines, but at least you're in a climate where you're not getting a lot of snow and plowing, so that the paint striping can last more years than, say, they can in Ohio. But in warmer climates, this is what's done, and it does help to keep people within the lines and bring a little bit more order to the parking pad activity on residential streets. To our experience, we didn't see a lot of signage on the streets, and in fact, most of these images you can't. These painted lines are not in New Carrollton, but you could see the other images to the 3 images to the right do not show almost any parking signs in view, and we think that it would be worthwhile to have your Public Works Department take a review of your signage offerings and placement, and figure out a scheme that holds up signs and all signs where everyone can say that they understand and the rules are very clear what you can and cannot do with signage. I mean, with parking. We talked about painted street pavements, and there are areas where yellow curb painting could be done more around intersections and safety zones and so on. And the use of yellow painted curbs is, again, another option that helps reinforce what parkers should and should not do. We talked about restricting parking on curbside on both curbs when the street's not narrow, too narrow to accommodate that kind of parking activity. And that probably, once it's if that is a regulation that is established, then it should be heavily enforced. And we saw a lot of parking at fire hydrants, and again, that seems to be something that people are not, just not compliant with that rule. And a considerable amount of citations were issued there. Head-in parking of that sort shown in the picture in upper left shouldn't be allowed. And then the police department might want to consider and review some of their practices relative to enforcement. There's technology that will allow patrol cars equipped with cameras and video equipment to drive through streets to cover the whole neighborhood easily and make multiple rounds within a short period of time. You can drive down the street at almost 20, 35 miles an hour and record license plates and use that those video feeds to create citations for cars that are illegally parked. The other thing you achieve by modernizing and using some of the latest enforcement technology is that you can quickly identify frequent offenders, people who repeatedly are parking illegally, and you can cite them because of your quick and retrievable data from such systems. And then lastly, one of the things you might want to consider is a fine structure that deters repeat offenders, so that the first ticket you get one price fine, and after so many tickets, your fine that the issued is higher in the dollar value because of your repeated misbehavior. So these are some other things. The city may want to consider a parking committee that can be responsive to it. And if the police department does decide it was going to rethink their enforcement practices, we think they should only do so after giving advance warning to the community and outreach, and maybe even you start that kind of practice with not citations but warnings about citations, so that people get used to it. But enforcement has to be consistent, regular, and fair. And if there's a sense that you should or you can or can't do it, or it's happening in some places and not in others, then people get upset about that. So, and then lastly, you might want to have someone begin to look at some of the parking programs that might be more supportive of some of the activities in the neighborhood. I know that residents had expressed the desire for residential parking permits. We don't think that that's a good idea. Parking permits are typically, permit programs are typically, in residential areas, are typically established to deter over intrusion over intrusion and usage of neighborhood parking by people from outside that neighborhood. Oftentimes you'll find in maybe business districts that abut a residential area, people will seek to find free curbside parking in residential areas during daytime business hours, or for example, if there's a school or university in the vicinity, students will also go into the residential area to avoid maybe paid parking in and around their institution or businesses. And so residential permit programs are instituted to at least control and limit their intrusion into the neighborhood and impact on the residential neighborhood. And so permit holders have privilege to park on street at unlimited times and hours, whereby people who are non-permit holders are limited to how long they can park and what hours they can park. And that's usually the motivation for establishing residential parking permits. In the case of New Carrollton, where you have residents basically with driveways, some of them with double wide driveways, putting second, third, fourth, fifth cars on the street or second cars on the street to park, the street becomes sort of a secondary parking place for reducing the congestion within residential driveways. Or maybe driveways are just filled with cars and others still have to park on the street. Nowadays, students, high school students often have cars at age 16. And then we all know that young adults who are just starting out are often, even after the age of 18, are living at home with cars. So that's the reason for those extra cars. Even renters and so forth are present in some of the residential areas. So it's easier. But as we did our survey, we found people with driveways, but still the street was filled with cars. So what we're finding is what's going on is people who have driveways, it's just easier to keep one or two cars on street than to move cars every time you want to get a car out or do something at home. So you put your car on the street and leave it. And if you introduce a residential permit program, I think that you're basically giving people that willing to pay for a permit the license to just have on-street parking availability at their whim, and then they are sanctioned to do that. And the more people that sign up for that permit, the more cars you're going to see on the street. What may happen is that the congestion of parking on street might be such that people will stop parking on street because it's just too far to walk to their car. If they've got to walk all the way down the street to get to their car, because that's where the only available space is. If they can get that space in front of their house, they'll be happy with it. But so people will covet the spaces near or at that. They're in front of their homes, and they will informally kind of lay claim to that. And it tends to, in cases like we see in New Carrollton, there could be some conflicts and a rise in more complaints about on-street parking. So we just don't think that this situation is residential permit parking would be conducive. On top of that, it becomes very burdensome to figure out and manage a program. One, to figure out the eligibility requirements. Who should be allowed to park cars on the street? That can be cumbersome, and then again becomes a matter of fairness if the pricing of those permits are prohibitive, or maybe only one permit per whole household, but that's still giving a lot of people the permission to just keep a car on the street. So it becomes a real burden to manage and maintain. So we don't think that's the way to go. Finally, we think that the city could benefit by maybe hosting some meetings about this issue, and working on some strategies and programs. And certainly if you're going to modify your enforcement practices and put up new signage and things like that, you definitely should do that with the community being well informed. You might want to consider establishing a position so that anyone that is someone who is sort of focused on parking and you can deal with issues about booting or towing vehicles. You can study the research and data on what kind of commercial vehicles are parking on street, who they belong to, and how long they're, and start keeping that records of what's going on. And the more you understand the problem and communicate with the residents, I think that the awareness of the situation and education of the parking program will ultimately benefit all the residents in these problem areas. So with that, I would close and we can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, let me just mention to the council here, a point of order. We've been well over a half hour and I budgeted a half hour.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. According to Robert's rules, we cut it off and we keep the integrity of the agenda unless a super majority wants to proceed. You guys want to go a little further in this while we have them? Or is this the type of information we need to process in-house on our own?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we extend this conversation while we have the experts in front of us.
I don't think official vote, just most people want to ask more questions. Yes, I
My question was what was their thoughts on implementing parking permits in the section that has the most limited parking spaces, but not across the city, but they ended up saying they don't recommend at all the parking.
Okay, did you hear that question?
It was a little bit garbled of a sound. I didn't quite hear it very well.
Well, they answered her question, so she doesn't have a question anymore anyway.
Oh, is the question answered?
Well, yes, their general recommendation.
Okay.
It's not to do parking permits in the city. That's what I understood.
That's what they're recommending, right? Yes.
Okay.
Ronnie, you have some questions for
I
me?
have a lot of questions.
Well,
I mean, we paid these people like
I know we did,
$50,000,
and
so
maybe
we
I
should
should
we
budget
should
an hour.
have the opportunity.
We'll take some other things off the agenda. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna be here at 11.
I won't either. There's definitely things we could take off the agenda. I appreciate the program recommendations. I remember when I did my interview, the person I spoke with, I think was a subcontractor of you guys, said that we would be getting ordinance language. Would you be able to give us ordinance language so that we don't have to pay our city attorney to draft up these laws that we're gonna implement per your recommendations? But I'll jump out at once.
I think Greg, that was Andy Hill.
Joe, I guess, we're working with you and working for you under this project. So I guess I wanted to leave that answer to you. But normally we do not write regulations for parking, ordinances and things like that. We've got exposure to many of them, and we can share examples of legislation. But we're not, lawyers or city solicitors in the sense that we define what those rules should be in a community.
No worries. Thank you. I definitely will follow up to get samples because I do think there's a lot of things we can codify. Next question is, you recommend paint and expanded use of yellow curbing. I remember under the previous administration, I was told that there are safety guidelines, laws, or prohibitions over the expanded use of that. So I guess my question is for both you guys and for the police chief. Are there restrictions on how much yellow paint can exist when it presents a parking safety concern?
I don't have any, I've never heard that.
Okay.
Can you tell me what contact you heard that?
Well, one of the things that you identified in your report is that the fact that people park way too close to curbs. And so I don't know if that would be an appropriate use of yellow curbing or if it would be better to use the tick marks that you demonstrated. But I definitely think we need to, there are certain areas where this is a very, very frequent problem, more so than others. And so the idea I had last term was for people to request to have their curbs painted yellow, 5 feet on each side. Would that be something that could be done? Is that something that you've seen before
Well,
studies?
The yellow curb for setbacks from parking setbacks from driveways is not common. It's not the way it's done in most municipalities. But the tick marks, the white markings that either block off the limits of where a car can park within a zone between driveways is done in many communities. And like I said, I showed you a couple of different ways that it could be done without a lot of paint, but it can be effective, where you just make the small lines or the marks as opposed to actual stripes that create the zone for parking areas. That's a way to at least reduce the amount of paint you're putting out there, and maybe that's only in certain areas, but.
I think that kind of answered my question. I guess the next question would be, and this is actually for the chief, but you brought it up. That's what brought me to want to ask him now. Could we get a report to see how many offenders who get parking citations are New Carrollton residents versus cars registered elsewhere? Because that could speak to whether or not a permit program would be effective.
Sure, we can query that.
Yeah. Because I do think that I think you're right. And I'm actually about to be a 3-car household with 1 car on the street permanently because we can barely fit our 2 cars in the driveway. I do think most people who are parking on the street are doing it because they have large families or in more than 1 or 2 cars. But I also think there are parts of the city where Councilmember Rosenberg's identified that there's someone running a dealership on his street, that there are people who don't live here who are parking here, and that is creating congestion. So in order for your recommendation to be solid, we really need to know what is the ratio of people who are getting tickets who don't live here. And then I don't know how you would do this part, but I bring it up all the time. Legation Road is one of the worst areas for parking. The majority of people who are parked on the street do not live on Legation Road. They live in Frenchman's Creek and Fountain Club. And so they would still have New Carrollton addresses, but they don't live on Legation Road or Mahoney or Olands. They live elsewhere and they're parking and they're taking up spots from people who live on Legation Road. So if we could figure out citation wise, that would be good data to have.
And that might be an area where permit parking might be justified, but you can only do that if you get good data and you really do the research and present the data to justify your program, I think. And then if there's permits, maybe the first car is one price, the second car is higher price, the third car is even higher, to sort of make it so that people just don't pay a minimal amount of for a permit and then they have the privilege of putting 4 and 5 cars on the street. So you don't want your streets to become a parking lot.
For sure. Then you referenced the different policies in the different cities, and in the chart you mentioned, you referenced the 72-hour rule in New Carrollton. And to give you a little context, so if someone sees a car parked on the street for more than 72 hours, they can call it in and a parking ticket can be issued to it. Typically, those tickets are only issued when someone has filed a complaint. There have been times and instances where people have come to the council and told us that they got a ticket and they don't believe anybody complains. But I've always been wary of that policy just because I think it incentivizes being a bad neighbor, right? Like, I don't like that person across the street, so I'm going to call every day and complain that their car's in the street. Whereas if I do like that person, I'm going to let it slide. Could you offer, from your experience doing these surveys with other municipalities, what you would recommend that would be a more neutral, easy to apply, fairly equitable policy around cars being stationary, like on the street? Because I do think we have seniors who may leave their car on the street for 2 weeks because they don't drive somewhere every day, or someone goes on vacation. We're going to be a 3-car family. One of our cars will definitely be on the street a lot. However, cars being on the street for weeks and weeks on end, it could also cause a problem. So could you give us suggestions as to how we could potentially either move away from that rule or make that rule more practical to solve our parking problem?
Well, the idea of that kind of initiative is that you really need to be able to track what's going on. And that's why we think it's best for you to consider upgrading your technology so that you have LPR or license plate recognition cameras built onto your patrol cars and enforcement vehicles. This will allow you to drive throughout the neighborhood with a fairly consistent regularity and track the parking, the plates of parked cars in every street in the neighborhood. And you can cover a neighborhood in an hour or less, just driving up and down the street. And then on weekends when you don't have regular enforcement patrols or parking enforcement patrols, patrol vehicles, normal police units can still be equipped with these vehicles to identify any problems as well. But the data you get from it will begin to show you the cars that are staying on the street, what streets are being used, how they're parked, and you'll be able to see the common violators and any scofflaws, people who are just not paying their tickets and dealing with the issues. So if you're just left with just sort of passing by and kind of only responding to complaints, then you just aren't going to get people to comply with the regulations and behave in a way that you're seeking them to do. And once people understand that you're serious about it and you're going to be consistent about it and fair-handed about it, then slowly but surely people's parking habits will change. I'm not saying that maybe residential permits can't be used in some of the neighborhoods, but right now, from the knowledge and information we have, it might be too soon to move in that direction. Let's analyze what's going on, gather the research, gather the data, and then perhaps consider a pilot program. You might want to consider a pilot program, but you have to, there's a lot of ways these programs are implemented, and you might want to look at some of the ways other communities have done it.
All right, next, two more things. So the next thing I'm just going to ask for, it's not a question. I know you guys did a block by block analysis. Would you be able to furnish to us the list of streets where it is recommended to eliminate two side of the street parking? And if it's not whole streets, like the blocks, like, the 8200 block of Lamont or whatever it is your recommendation is, could you give us a concrete list of streets that you would eliminate two side parking and areas where you think that signage would be appropriate? And if you're able to, give us an approximate cost as to what we should expect to spend on additional signage. That would be really helpful because we're still trying to navigate a budget, and I think that this is a very good use of money to put signage in places where there's like problematic, people getting a lot of citations. Are you able to produce that block by block analysis with where you recommend eliminating two sides of the street parking? Also, where you would recommend we would add more yellow curbing?
In terms of doing the block by block, two side versus one side parking, actually we approached the Department of Public Works to see if we can get the roadway widths for all the roads, and they said they don't have it. So that's the bottleneck, because it's a lot of work to go through and get the roadway widths. But if the roadway widths are provided, we can give you guidance on which streets can be one-way parking only, or one-side parking only, versus two sides.
Do you think that's something the county would have? The roadway widths? I would imagine, since they do zoning and plots and flats and all that stuff, that might be a DPI issue rather than a I mean, this city was built by a developer to, you know, he incorporated it so he could sell warehouses. It was a planned community. It wasn't, it's not like many of the other municipalities that even border us that are much, much older. Is that something you think the county, I guess I can follow up with the county. Does that something the police department would know how to access?
So, True Design, when they did their study,
Uh-huh.
they may have that information.
That's great. Yes, I will write that down. And then one idea that I had that I talked about with the chair briefly, once we enforce, for instance, let's say we decide that there's 13 streets where there's no longer going to be available two-side parking. We have to figure out where these people are going to place their vehicles. One idea that I had would be to develop an MOU with the pool, and people can park their vehicles there at night, and we agree to pay the pool parking lot and they let us park there. And actually, even during the day this summer, the pool was never full, not once. I think that that's an idea, but do you have any other recommendations given our limitations that we don't have parking decks? We're not a very free place that has lots of, you know, open space. Do you have any other recommendations based on your survey of where we can suggest people move their vehicles to if they can no longer park them on the street?
I think the Department of Public Works also said that there's a parcel at Mahoney Woods that can be a potentially off-street parking. I'm not familiar with that area, but.
Maybe Harlan Street, maybe, yeah. Harlan Street would be another excellent place for people, especially the commercial vehicles. I do think that we have to get these commercial vehicles off the street because they take up a lot of space and they're damaging to the roads. But at the same time, I don't want to punish small business owners who are less likely to be able to afford to park their vehicle somewhere else. So I think the city should try to offer a recommendation rather than just ticketing people who are trying to make a living. But did you have, other than other city-owned property, any other suggestions? And that's my last question. Where people can park if they can't park on the street anymore.
It's been done in some communities where they will acquire vacant parcels that happen to be available or the city may own, and put together plans that small pocket parking lots. I'm not completely familiar with the entire community and if such parcels and lots might land parcels might exist, but it's been done in other communities where they've done the same, and in order to create additional parking, off-street parking opportunities. Whether that's possible there, I can't say.
Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Councilmember Urbina. You took a couple of questions off of my plate, so I really just have one point to make. You spoke to photo enforcement, more specifically license plate readers. Were any of the other cities that you surveyed here implementing that policy and or that technology already?
We didn't get a confirmation on that. Can't say for sure.
Very good. And the only other thing I would like to ask the chief is, are you open to the photo technology using the license plate readers here in the city of Carrollton?
Yes, I certainly am. Actually, tonight I was going to give you an update. Let me give you the update now. We recently wrote a grant, waiting for the final on that, to receive license plate readers for all of our vehicles, all of our patrol cars.
And parking too?
I can look at another one for parking.
Okay. Yay.
Well, we used to have LPRs in the city before
Where'd they go?
with the old vehicles.
Um,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's the only question I have.
Okay, and mine is an observation, not a question, that I haven't really heard anything in here that we haven't explored before. And I really do think most of this needs to be processed amongst ourselves and the experts we have in-house, the police chief and public works. But there were some new thoughts, but generally this is stuff we need to process. And it's helpful to see the package and have it presented before us. But with that, I'm ready to move on. So thank you, Landesco. And I'm going to suggest that we just take the all resident voting off of here because Cynthia would like to be here for that, and we're going to move that in September anyway. The budget feedback, are you ready to jump on that? Agnelli, you were the lead on that.
Yes, can we get Jasmine to display the PowerPoint.
And it's in the packet. Let me see, it's
Yes,
page,
it's in the package, but I wanted
it's
to
page,
put
I
it
know, but I want the audience to say you have a
screen for the
packet.
people.
Are we free to log off?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. Good
Thank
evening.
you, guys.
Yeah.
It's on page 25 of 608 through 30 something.
Yeah, 25 is the start. Oh, and she ran away.
She's trying to hook, I don't know what she's doing. 25 through 40.
I guess I can, I don't know if she responded or not. Okay. So in the discussions that we had in May for the budget workshop and in later council meetings, both council members and the administration proposed some items that were not submitted within the proposed budget for fiscal year 27. And we haven't made decisions on those items. And I thought of looking for a way to engage residents and give us feedback on what they thought of these items that are under consideration for the budget. So I developed the survey with 11 items, and the survey was deployed via constant contact with the great help of Yvonne, the communication director. It was open for 11 days. And so I'll go down the 11 items. The first one was New Carrollton Care with a proposed cost of $250,000. The New Carrollton Care's Emergency Financial Assistance Program is designed to prevent eviction, foreclosure, utility disconnection, displacement, loss of essential services, and other crises that threaten the health, safety, and stability of New Carrollton residents. So based on the feedback, we had 76 responses from residents. So that's the denominator for all the results. And so for New Carrollton Care, we had 42% of residents that had no interest in the concept or the idea of New Carrollton Care versus 21% that did support the idea. Next slide, please. Budget item number 2 was community electronic signs with a cost of not more than $250,000. That was a limit that the council had spoken to. And so the city requested bids for 2 large illuminated signs for announcements in high traffic areas with the recommendation of 85th Avenue and Longfellow Street and 5748 Lamont Drive. 71% of the residents supported the idea of installing large illuminated electronic signs, which would replace the limited one that we have from the police or our little banners that are used for the regular events. So we would have the opportunity to announce the community meetings, the council meetings, and all kinds of things that are happening in the city.
Acknowledging one, we have 3 for the police right now.
Okay, thank you. But they're hard to read.
I know, but there's 3.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but I feel like you're reading a chart that we can see very easily.
Well, you had your time and this is on the agenda.
I didn't even finish my sentence. May I finish my sentence? I just want to get to the overall recommendations.
No, I want to present each of the 11 items, please.
I mean, what's the point of reading a PowerPoint? Like, we all know how to read.
I allowed 20 minutes, Agnelli. I'm timing you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Budget item number 3, Safe Streets and Roads for All. The proposal is for implementation of 1 or 2 low-level recommendations from the Safe Street study while applying for grant funds. This is something that we could do in the short term because acquiring the large number of money needed to implement all the recommendations could take more than a year or longer. So most of the residents, 68%, support the idea of implementing some of the recommendations. And we had Tool give us a list of 10 items that would fit on this category of low-level implementations. Budget item number 4, infrastructure repairs, to invest in the needed repairs and deferred maintenance for 2 superstructures, the large bridges, and 3 smaller bridges. So the cost estimate is $330,000, and there's overwhelming support from the residents, 83% for repairs to the city bridges. I think that definitely comes from the experience and the pain we all had with the Powhatan Bridge. Budget item number 5, new vehicles for the police department with a proposed cost of $130,000. The police department is requesting $130,000 in fiscal year 27 to acquire 2 vehicles. At present, the department has a fleet of 26 vehicles. 65%. Most residents do not support purchasing more vehicles for the police department in fiscal year 2027. Budget item number 6, fire department with a proposed cost of $10,000. To provide a donation, the city would provide a donation to the West Lanham Hills Volunteer Fire Department. This has an overwhelming support from the residents with 84% for the $10,000 donation. Budget item number 7, electronic scoreboard for Beckett Field. It's a cost to be determined when we put out the survey. Now we have a cost within the RFP that's for later discussion in the agenda, but most residents, 53%, do not support acquiring an electronic scoreboard for Beckett Field.
Agno, you need to say next slide so that they'll,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
but thank you.
They're caught up with you now, yeah.
yeah, okay, I'm
Next
sorry.
slide,
I didn't mean
number
to
8.
interrupt, but yeah.
Citywide security. The city proposed an integrated security system with batch access and central monitoring for all city property. That cost is still to be determined. This is an interesting result because there is no clear answer from the residents. There's this even split. 30% have it as top or high interest. 35% have little or no interest, and 35% have medium interest. It's the only budget item that got that kind of breakdown. Next item, please. Budget item number 9, citywide maintenance. The cost to be determined, but we do have now the cost in the request for proposals in today's agenda. My world, when, okay, you can. The results are overwhelming support from the residents for the project of tree stump removal. 80% supported the idea. Next slide, please. Budget item number 10, public works, snow and ice operations. The cost to be determined at the time of the survey. We do have now cost of the RFP proposals, and this is equipment for road repairs in snow ice operations. In most residents, 63% support investing in snow and ice. Next item, please. Budget item number 11, public works equipment, replacement of an aging trash truck with dedicated recycling truck. Most residents, 63%, support acquiring a new recycling truck. The cost was to be determined at the time of the survey, and the city is still looking at additional proposals. Next slide, please. So here's the overview. The residents have shared their thoughts and provided feedback to the council and the city administration that they will support investments in community electronic signs, safe streets and roads for all, infrastructure repairs, donation to the fire department, citywide maintenance, public works, ice, snow, and ice operations. Okay, and, public works equipment for the recycling truck. The residents have given us their, feedback, and they do not support the project of New Carrollton Cares, new vehicles for the police department, or the electronic scoreboard for Beckett Field. And, as I mentioned, there is no clear response regarding citywide security. These are all items that were not part of the proposed budget, and the council will be considering funding these items from the reserve account as a one-time expenditure. Now, part of the question I made to the administration early today, with considering the numbers in the RFPs that they have, is how much all these proposed projects would cost. So the council can take a bigger look of how much it costs and how much money are we willing to take from the reserve accounts in this fiscal year to address the wish list items. And so that is something to further discuss using the feedback from the residents, using the numbers that the city have acquired from a few of the RFPs, and putting it within the discussion of our global budget for fiscal 27. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I'm going to add that I often quote David Lai, who studies statistics as I did, and these surveys that we do have no statistical validity. So we say the residents have spoken, the people who decided to do the survey have spoken, but it does give us some guidance. And I think as we go into the budget process, I'm going to take these responses serious, and some of them are very clear where people stand, but it's still not statistically valid. So you did this in 10 minutes. I allowed 20. So the other council members want to comment on this, but I do appreciate the work you put into this. And it does give me a sense of which projects are more important. And I'm glad you mentioned the fiscal budget. It's fiscal 27 that because we already have fiscal 26, or we have the fiscal 27 budget, excuse me. We have that we spent a whole day working on in a workshop, and we're ready to move forward of that next week. These items are not in there. So we will add these as
They're kind of a wish list.
They're a wish list to be added. They're not in the budgets that the mayor presented to us. Okay? Lincoln or Brianna, do you have any observations in this you'd like to share? I think we can stay within our 20 minutes.
Sure.
Uh,
Go first, please.
Go ahead, Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will just say that the residents have spoken.
Okay.
And it's clearly written right here what they think the priorities are. So like you, I'm willing to discuss these in more detail as we go through the budget process. And if it means we have to take money from the reserve to implement them, then so be it. The only thing I will say is the one thing that was thumbs down was the new vehicles for the police department. Now we have 26, which is plenty, but as we all know, things oftentimes happen that are beyond our control. Police cars are driven and sometimes they get into accidents. So I would just say that although the residents didn't vote for that particular one, I would still consider that based on history and what I've experienced as a council member here in the city of New Carrollton. But other than that, I'm in full agreement with everything that they gave a thumbs up to.
Okay, and before you move on, because Brianna and I have discussed this, the one thing about budgeting for police cars, when she was chair, we budgeted for police cars and we weren't sure that we needed them, but if you don't budget for them, you don't get the tax differential. So there's a dilemma there where if you budget it and you don't need it, you still have that availability of tax differential. But if it's in the budget, hey, we've already authorized the purchase, whether they need it or not. There's that risk. But I hear what you're saying, Lincoln. Brianna, you have
Thank you,
observations?
Mr. Chair, I'm done.
So I spoke to a couple people who filled out this survey, and this survey is very statistically flawed. The folks who I spoke to identified that when you indicate whether something is a top priority, right? And so very few people indicated that New Carrollton Cares was a top priority. Yes, in contrast with infrastructure, in contrast with these other things, this isn't their priority. That's not an indication that they don't want this program. It's just an indication it's not the top priority. And so, David Lai is actually on the meeting now, and he filled out this survey, and he felt like the answers actually, what he wanted to say was not reflected by these responses. Now, granted, he's one person, so maybe his opinions are wildly different from everyone else who filled out the survey. 77 people out of 13,500 residents is not an overwhelming mandate to do anything. Also, we don't actually know whether or not it's 77 unique people or people using multiple email addresses to express their views as multiple people. The survey that we did, the community survey where we had 275 complete respondents and 296 people participated, those were done door to door. So we knew exactly who that person was, and we knew that they weren't getting a duplicate answer. And so with that, I wouldn't say with confidence that the people have spoken. In addition, New Carrollton Cares was already voted on, approved and finalized through legislation. That actually happened already. The budget wasn't fully adopted, but we did have a legislative meeting where language was adopted and a vote passed. And so that has already been appropriated. Whether or not it's going to be spent, the RFP has already gone out. So I definitely still think we need to do a better job of civic engagement. But I'm not going to suggest that 77 people is a mandate. The average person didn't know about this. I didn't even fill out the survey, to be honest. I was traveling. So I don't think that we should be so conclusive. When you rank things like this, honestly, would New Carrollton Cares be my top priority of this 11? No, it would not. It would be the major infrastructure and the safety design projects. That would definitely be my top priority. But it does not mean that nobody wants this. And most importantly, the people who could benefit from that opportunity are working 2 and 3 jobs, are working overnights, are families with kids, and maybe don't have the luxury and privilege of filling out a survey because they're too busy trying to keep food on their table and lights on in their houses. So I stand behind the New Carrollton Cares program, and I hope that those who voted for it will stand with me. It is less than 2% of our reserve. We're not talking about a huge percentage. Also, police cars doesn't typically come from reserves. That's usually a budgeted item, and I imagine it's going to be a budgeted item again. In my time on the council, that's never come out of reserve. So if it is, I kind of want to understand why that's happening. Some of these other things, major infrastructure repair, we do have designated budget line items for roadways that money can come from there, and it wouldn't have to come from the overall reserve account. Other things like the scoreboard and other, one-off costs, the signage, those are things that I think are appropriate to come from reserves. But the idea that this is what we're going to spend our reserves on is completely inaccurate. So I just want that to be clear for the public.
Can I have a comment to both of them?
Yeah, we haven't used up 20 minutes yet, but I'm watching the clock. Go ahead.
So I never said this was statistically significant. It was a tool to get feedback. The same way the council gets feedback when one person stand on that podium and talks about parking. And we listen to the residents, or they come in a group of 15 and tell us their feedback. And so this was a tool to listen to the residents. And the fact that 76 people responded, and they were unique email addresses because Yvette looked for that. I think we should listen to it and take it into consideration when we're discussing the budget.
Okay. So see where I am here, 8:30, a few minutes shy, but excuse me. I heard everything. And David Lai, if you're on here, you've heard Brianna and me both say it's not statistically valid. But the one we got 270 results on, as David pointed out, was not statistically valid either. And some of it may have been door to door, but I did it online. So I know people who did that one online also, just like this one. Anyway, we have a letter here from the mayor on, we have number 7, where we have Michelle visiting with us and maybe some other people from our committee. And you have a statement to read on this commission that the council talked about back in July.
There's one for each.
And then maybe we can introduce Michelle and let her say hello if she wants to. Thank you for waiting this long, Michelle, through a lot of boring stuff.
Oh, no problem.
So I'll
it's
do this
fascinating.
quick. I want to update the mayor and council members on the establishment of a resident-led charter review commission. As you may recall, during our meeting on July 1st, we discussed how the prior council adopted several charter amendments in 2025 that redefined the roles of the mayor, the city manager, and the controller. 1 year later, we recognized that some ambiguity and inconsistencies around these positions still exist, and that additional work is required to address them. Rather than conduct another piecemeal review of specific sessions of our charter, on July 1st, both Brianna and one of our residents suggested that it may be time to establish an independent charter review commission comprised of residents who would represent the entire community and who would explore revisions or modifications to the city charter and ultimately the code, including the city's current form of government, may be warranted. The city of St. Pleasant successfully implemented this process, and its resulting 56-page charter is a well-organized, streamlined document that clearly defines the roles, responsibilities, and authorities of the city elected officials and key employees, as well as how the city will operate. Although Dwayne initially asked me to do the rewriting of the relevant charter amendment, in further discussions, the chair and I agreed to create an independent resident-led charter review commission to conduct this important work. Consequently, on July 23rd, the city newsletter included a call for resident volunteers to take part in the commission to review New Carrollton's current form of government and explore whether revisions to the city charter and the city code may be needed. I am pleased to report that the engagement was impressive and 14 residents have been selected for the Charter Review Commission. In full support of the residents' role in the commission, I will limit my role to serve as liaison between the commission and the city council. The New Carrollton Charter Review Commission will be organized and led by residents. From among the volunteers, I identified 2 residents to serve as co-chairs of the commission. Michelle Frisbee, who you may recognize as the person who suggested using the commission approach for this task, brings more than 2 decades of experience in government-related activities through her work with the International City County Management Association. ICMA is an affiliate of the National League of Cities, the parent organization of the Maryland Municipal League. The other co-chair will be Craig McLean, a longtime active member of our community. In addition to his military career experience, which includes government relations, drafting regulations, legislation, constitutions, bylaws, and other documents, we know Craig has extensive knowledge of the New Carrollton Municipal Charter and has a reputation for fairness and neutrality. I will now read the names of the selected members of the New Carrollton Charter Review Commission. Please stand up if you're in the council chambers tonight so you can be recognized. Barbara Templeman, Carletia Wall, Craig McLean, Cynthia Paul Sweet, Hazel Monet, Jeffrey Brown, Marilyn Padmore, Michelle Frisbee, Paula Richards, Shannon Venable, Stephen John, Stephen Cummings, Suki Knowles, Senat Watts. Thank you for raising your hands and saying yes to the call for volunteers. Each of you will bring unique expertise and perspectives to the table as we work towards a common goal, effective governance of the city we call home. So what are the next steps? The co-chairs and I are preparing a binder with background information. We will distribute it on the last weekend of August so the commission members can do their homework and educate themselves about the work that is about to begin. The commission will hold its first meeting on Tuesday, September 15 at 7 p.m. The group is expected to meet once a week for several months. To ensure that council members are aware of the commission's progress, one or both of the co-chairs will provide regular updates as the commission works its way through the charter review process. There should be no surprises to the council. If the commission intends to offer the council recommendations for charter amendments, they will scope those changes so they can be evaluated and voted upon by this council before the May 2027 election. Finally, there's a caveat. While the commission will focus on reviewing the New Carrollton City Charter, we should keep in mind that any proposed changes to the charter may also have an impact on our municipal code. As we consider these changes, the Charter Review Commission may not have time to flesh out before the May 2027 elections, and we may need to do additional work later. Thank you for allowing me to announce the New Carrollton Charter Review Commission. There's more to come. Are there any questions from the council?
Okay, before we go to questions, Michelle, you want to stand up for a minute and we read part of your
Do a
resume,
little
but
dance.
but you've done, yeah, well, Michelle made a comment one time when she was at town hall. She said, I did this for a living.
Yes.
You have a background in this with ICMA. So if you don't mind going to the podium, so now we can hear you if you want to share a
Oh,
couple
it's right
thoughts
there.
on what, how you see this proceeding before the council asks questions. And while you're going there, I'll tell you that I and my Boy Scout troop, it's now Scout Troop, one of the boys' mothers in the Greenbelt City Council, she said they did a commission like this and the results were fantastic.
Yes.
That they said that charter was a mess. So Greenbelt highly recommends doing this, Seat Pleasant. So it is a good move based on other municipal experiences.
And that is one of the things that we'll be doing, is looking at the work of other communities in the area, similar in size and composition, that have conducted a charter review, and have come up with a nice, clean charter, unlike ours currently, which is sort of filled with amendments. Now, obviously, like any other document, as soon as we issue, if this is adopted, immediately amendments will start again, but at least we'll get a catch-up phase where we can produce a decent document that I think all of our residents will be proud of and satisfied with. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to is doing a deep dive into the where we're going. One of the activities that the group will be doing is sort of establishing a vision for the community. Where do we want to take the city of New Carrollton? Where are we now? Where do we want to go? What kind of community do we want for residents? And this will help us, the charter review process will help us get there. So I look forward to working with the other 14 members or 13 members and Nellie.
And now, Nellie, if you would stay there for a minute, please, because the other two council go. I don't have any questions, but Brianna and Lincoln may have some questions. Any
Yes.
questions for Michelle or Agnelli?
I don't have questions, but I would love to participate, not in the same way that you would, like, no outsized influence as a council member. We had 12 meetings on the charter last year.
Yeah.
I don't know, at some point, I used to have the chapters memorized by title. So I feel like I have a lot to offer.
Yes.
The other thing that I would like to put on your radar that I think that you wouldn't have known, and now that I see this vision of yours, I really like it. We had MML come in and do a presentation for us on a weekend where we were doing our charter restructuring.
Right.
It cost $8,000.
Right.
So upfront. So I don't know if their pricing has changed. Probably, everything gets more expensive, but I think it's a worthwhile use of money because Tom Reynolds comes in with someone else on his staff and really does a lot of education, but also an exercise very similar to what you just described of,
A vision.
what is the
yes.
goal and then what are the tools to get there?
Right.
And I mean, the three of us were participants in that. I know Mr. Rosenberg and the former mayor did not have a good experience at that. I walked away thinking I learned a lot and I felt a lot closer to my colleagues. I remember Ryan saying the same thing, and apparently he and I were at a different retreat than everyone else because everyone had a different experience. But I still think that that educational portion is really important. I know I've shared in the past with Craig McLean documents that I've gotten from MML, the chart with the X's that tells you the elements of strong mayor versus weak mayor. And so I would just love to participate. I unfortunately can't make September 15th because I already have a commitment on that night, but I really would like to participate, and I'm really excited about the work you guys are going to do.
Thank you.
Sure that they
Thank you for that.
Okay,
Yeah. Well, you said September.
do you have
15th.
anything, Lincoln, to add to this?
Yeah.
We'll discuss when the meetings will happen.
Like, Councilmember Rabin, I don't have questions. I just first wanted to say that this is an awesome idea.
Thank you.
It warms
Thank
my
you.
heart to even hear this being discussed.
Oh, how exciting.
Because we've gone through, like Councilmember Bina said, several meetings where we discussed the charter.
Mhm.
And to have a group of community members who are interested in taking this on and to run with it, it just warms my heart. So I am very happy, very excited. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm sure there'll be some good comments, recommendations, amendments, edits, what have you coming from the group. So good on to you.
Thank you very much. And we will keep you informed every step of the way as the committee
Thank
goes
you
through.
for being here. Thank you, your other volunteers on this committee for being here with us tonight.
And my feedback is you're not going to be done by the May election because it took us a year and a half to get to the, potential garbage that we put out, and I think more hands in the kitchen helps, but also there's going to be there's a learning curve.
Right.
There was a lot of assumptions going in from people who have graduated from MML, and you're going to have a group of folks who don't have that level of education to start. And so, to add to this, I also think that we should not be debating all resident voting charter amendments before we do the charter committee. It doesn't make sense. We should probably refrain from charter amendments until the committee is ready to act on such a thing.
You mean going forward
Yeah. I think that,
from here?
I feel as an elected official, very confident in this group of people being able to come up with solid policy recommendations to us. I don't know that we should be making policy changes to the charter while that work is ongoing.
All right.
There's lots of things to do. I don't see that as a priority.
Right. That makes sense. That's a good comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other
thank-
questions?
No, it's good. Thank you,
All
Michelle.
right. Do I leave this here?
You leave that there. We have.
Put it by
public
the
comments.
mayor because she's going to have to give a report tonight.
And the letter, I mean, I only have 1 minute in this, but it's a letter pointing out the deficiencies in these accessory dwelling units. Maisha, we don't need anything else in this. We've already seen this, right? The letter's been sent. It's dated July 21st. Did you have some comments on that, Maisha?
No, I didn't. It was just, I was making the council aware of what the letter was that we sent to the county.
Okay. Well, we've all read it, so we can move on to that. Mayor, you ready with your report? Madam Mayor?
Let's talk with the chief.
Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. First, before I get to updates, I want to give a clarification on the police department fleet of actual patrol vehicles. We currently have 15 vehicles assigned to patrol. That 26 that's been put out includes 2 animal control vehicles, 2 parking vehicles, a speed camera truck, a range vehicle, and the vehicles assigned to command staff. Of those 15 vehicles that are in patrol, 1 I've recently deadlined as unsafe for patrol. That leaves us with 14. Just a few days ago, we had 1 vehicle rear-ended, so that's out of commission. So currently, we only have 1 pool vehicle, and we have 4 officers looking to come on in the next month or so. 4 new officers. 1 that's in field training right now. That there appears to be no vehicle for that officer. How do we get to this point? I didn't come tonight to talk about all of this, but before I started, there were 3 vehicles that were totaled. Legit paid out funds for those vehicles. I guess they were put back in our city accounts, and those vehicles were never replaced. The two vehicles that were purchased when I first got here, one was for me and one was for Major Butler. So those probably could have, but we need vehicles to respond and to patrol as well. But so right now, we're really deficient in vehicles. I don't want to get to a point where you may come to me and say, why didn't you let me know this, chief? Why didn't you let me know the true picture of what's going on in the police department fleet? And when they're not just asking for vehicles just for show, we currently have 7 vehicles with over 100 miles. Most of the time, we replace 100,000. Thank you, Mayor.
That's
Over
what I thought you
100,000.
meant.
One vehicle has, the one that I just deadline has 152,000. We have another one with 155,000 that currently needs a transmission, so that's out of commission as well. That's another one we've taken off that list. We're really deficient in vehicles. Just to get us to a sustainable amount right now, to be perfectly clear, we would need in FY27 to purchase 6 vehicles. And then in next year, 28, 3, and 29, 3, and 30, 2 vehicles, and then FY31, 2 vehicles. That would get our patrol fleet back to a sustainable amount, and that's all taken in consideration that there are no more collisions. The one we had the other day was actually where a police officer was rear-ended by someone. You know, thank God he's in good condition, but no fault of his own. So, but just want to make that clarity for patrol vehicles. I want to also give you an update on our recent contract that we signed with Avio. That's our vendor for our automated stop sign enforcement program. As you know, the county council, Prince George's County Council unanimously approved our program. We have the largest program in the county. We've approved locations throughout our city. We will be starting installation as early as September the 7th through September 18th. First week of September, I've asked the city manager if she could allow our vendor to come in and speak to our public and our council and mayor. And so we're going to set that up, and you'll see exactly all of the public safety information that they have that will go out to our community. A warning period will be September 21st to October 21st, and live ticketing will actually start on October 22nd. And I always make this note that this program is truly put in place to change behavior of drivers throughout our city. This program is one that saves lives. Many of the public safety announcements that we put out will actually explain exactly how the citation will be generated, proper ways to stop your vehicle at intersections. So I think I know for sure plenty of information will go out. I also want to make it clear that the state of Maryland, as of October 1, is enforcing out-of-state tags that are in our state. The program is called Plate Where You Live. So they're really going after the lost revenues that NBA has faced over the years. And this is also a safety campaign because they want those vehicles to go through Maryland safety inspections. So there's going to be a period of time where notifications it will start out. You have 60 days once we notify you that there's an issue where now you can also get something called a non-resident permit through NBA. And that's for those who may be military, who's stationed here and who live, often college, or either assigned here on extended work for 60 days or more. So I just want to put all of that out. I want to thank everyone who came out for our National Night Out. My first one with you, a great event. Thank you so much for the collaboration. Look for so many other opportunities. And I want to thank those who come out on the second Saturdays to have a conversation with me. Some of the things that were brought to me last Saturday, actually almost everything that was brought to me last Saturday, we've been able to get a successful resolution for those residents. I want to remind our residents that be respectful of your neighbors. Had you neighbors come in and meet with me unexpected 2 days ago. And they said for over 2 years, they've been complaining about loud music coming from a particular, so that's my target now. It's gonna be our team's target. Quality of life in our city. I wanted this to be a livable city where you respect one another. So that's our focus, in pertaining to quality of life situations. Another reminder, I know it's hot outside. Some people may not know that swimming pools, the pop-up ones above ground, you can't have those in your yard without proper fencing. We've seen that some people just don't realize the dangers that exist in doing this. But what we've done through code and with my assistance as well is actually communicated that, and we got a very quick resolution. So thank you for that. But that is my report.
Thank you. I'm not sure if Maisha has anything she wants to say.
I just wanted to let everybody know that we also had a car that was totaled on July 4th with those storms that came through. It was sitting in the admin parking lot, and the tree fell down from one of the neighbors behind us and totaled the car. Legit came yesterday, one day earlier this week, and actually picked up the car because it had been totaled. So one of the brand new Jeeps that didn't even have a couple thousand miles on it has now been totaled.
Admin vehicle? Yeah. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, it was an admin Jeep. And then Brianna, you asked about the street evaluation. So when Tool came through, they did not do an evaluation of street by street. They did certain sections, but it wasn't an overall street evaluation. So I'll figure out somewhere between one of the departments where we can see if there's actually measurements of all of our streets.
I'm certain the county has to have that.
We'll find out for you.
Thank you.
And then two, part of your packet you should have received today too, and I actually sent it out an email. And Leroy is on too, so that kind of comes from me to him, where we're asking for some exceptions on Public Works and the city clerk. So you all should have a memo, and I also emailed it out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That clarifies that the hiring has been lifted for certain positions. The hiring freeze.
So that's all I have right now.
Okay. Anything else, Mayor?
No, sir.
I think Leroy's on. I don't know if he has anything.
Leroy on there, do you have anything to share?
Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Chairman. No, I don't have anything to report. We just been finishing up these grants, invasive species. We haven't been able to do no potholing or anything of that nature because we've been shorthanded. Everything, the focus been going on the day-to-day operation without trash.
Well, thank you, Leroy, but this list that Maisha just gave us, you are authorized to do some hiring, so I hope that's in process. Okay?
Yes, sir.
No, he's not?
No, they're asking for the council's permission.
We haven't freed that up? I thought we freed that up.
No,
Okay.
the ordinance, the resolution we passed did not have a date for the hiring freeze to end. It says after the BRC report is finished and the council has had time to analyze the results. So they're asking for exceptions because the hiring freeze has not been lifted.
Okay.
And
I didn't understand that here. Okay, Maisha, is that the status here?
Yes, that's what we're asking for.
Okay. That's not on the agenda tonight? When I add that to the agenda, huh?
I sure do. But I don't know if you all will vote since Cynthia's not there. I mean, I would hope you all would.
Well, I see some things that,
If worse comes to worse, if you don't want to hold a vote tonight, you said we're meeting next Wednesday.
yeah, I guess we should do that. I mean, one thing, there's a lot in the BRC report, but one thing they told us, we don't need a director and assistant director in public works, and we're adding a director again. So that's something that BRC would not favor. Well, all right, let's do that next Wednesday.
Well, the thing is, but we can't hire for the director until you all lift the hiring freeze to fill this position.
Okay, so we're limiting it to one position based on the results we don't know yet. Yes, Agni.
BRC recommended eliminating the assistant director of public works. And what this memo is saying is adding the position of director
Right,
and not eliminating the assistant.
that's
And
right.
so in discussing exceptions to a hiring freeze, exceptions are not 11 people and everybody from the Department of Public Works. That needs to be discussed within the context of salary and wages of BRC
Okay.
report. And that's what the resolution said.
The date is the
So-
26th for that. Okay,
Months ago, I suggested we do an exception for the city clerk. And administration told me they were not interested in doing that until we got BRC report. I recognize Mr. Davis needs support for elections in November. And so asking for exceptions of 11 people is the whole department. That's not exceptions. That's lifting the hiring freeze.
okay.
So,
Well,
Ms.
count,
Agnelli, I will tell you, Public Works is really struggling because of all of these exceptions. We currently, between people being hurt, people being sick, or just people not being with the city, they don't even have half of the Public Works team. So, example this morning, when I came in today, Leroy, someone from grounds, and I can't remember who else, was over doing the trash, cleaning the bathrooms, and then went from our building to the Hankel building. And then trash is short. So, I mean, it's just overall short because of the people that have been injured. So I understand it's a lot for Public Works, but unfortunately, your Public Works department is hurting. And yes, I know we had said we were trying to hold off on the clerk position, waiting on BRC to make sure, but this whole BRC thing keeps getting kicked down the road. And I'm gonna be honest, even with the report that they just sent us, was that this weekend? I don't even know if that's really still gonna give you the information you need and want to even make a decision at that point.
well, I agree with that statement. You want to narrow this list down and deal with it tonight, or what is, any comments? I mean, I would take the director off here since they only want one position. We have a director, we have Leroy,
The
he's acting
hiring
director.
freeze needs to be discussed within the scope of what are the salary and wages for fiscal 27.
We already have those in the budget, the proposed budget book that they could
No,
live with.
the budget as presented has no COLA, no step increases as part of the pay freeze. So suddenly lifting the hiring freeze will impact the numbers that will need to be edited from fiscal 27 budget. And so I would say if Public Works is hurting so much, come with a request for exceptions that is not 11 people. Everybody, you're asking for everybody under the hiring freeze in Public Works. If you're hurting, then come with a selected number, not everybody. And definitely eliminating the hiring freeze for a public director while keeping the assistant public works director. When BRC recommendation is that we eliminate that position, it's against BRC. Not that we're going to accept all of BRC's recommendations. That's why they need to be discussed. But that's a clear one in terms of organizational assessment that they did. Eliminate assistant public works director.
But Ms. Agnelli, just so I can't even move. I mean, you have Leroy that's over there doing everything as the director. He's not really the director, he's the assistant, but I can't even post a position so he can apply or whoever else wants to apply for a director position because it's not available.
I understand, but then we need to discuss as part of organizational assessment for the whole city to eliminate the assistant public director position from the charts.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, we have one person talking and then we have one person absent and you made her the promise we wouldn't vote tonight. So I think we should just move this topic to next week.
All right, be
And,
careful
but
with
I
that word.
think that this is a really important topic because
It
we
is
have
an
one
important
job.
topic.
Getting people's trash picked up is like 90% of it.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know that I made a promise that we wouldn't do this, and it seems to me this could be scaled back, but it could take a long time. So
But I currently, we have parks people that are doing trash. Well, actually, I don't know how many people left in parks, but I mean, and so I just want everyone to understand. So like,
Recycling wasn't picked up last week. That was gonna be my question. My recycling wasn't picked up. No one on my streets was. And so, and I was gonna ask why, and now I think I probably understand.
Mr. Chair, to me, this has risen to a position of emergency.
Yeah.
I don't think we can delay. I'm sorry to, Cynthia's not here, but I think we should try to recommend something tonight. If not, maybe call a special meeting for even Monday. If people's trash aren't getting picked up, that's a major problem. In my opinion.
yeah, I would scale this back. I would certainly get the director out of there until we discuss the BRC stuff. But some of these other positions, I mean, the city clerk could have been brought to us months ago. I'm sure we were all ready to vote unanimously to hire a city clerk, and Maisha
But
said
what
we
would be
cannot.
the problem?
Well, we have the continuing resolution. There's a salary in there. We can start with offering that and then negotiate. But I mean,
So Chair, I just wanted to say, I'm not quite sure. You guys are not here on a day-to-day basis to see the operations of the city. So to sit and say, I just want to continue the hiring freeze is just bridge on the troubled water. There are positions that are critical. And the only reason why I delayed doing any more hiring was because you guys were waiting on the BRC report. What was the point of hiring people for the BRC report to come back, which you guys have not seemed excited about the report, but you are holding on to just one thing that they have said that you want to hold on to, which is the assistant director for public works. Every other department has multi-layered management. So if you only have one person in public works on a management level, say for instance, the director is out, who would be the next in line to run that department? So just being steadfast saying, you don't want to lift the hiring freeze, but we should actually come and beg and bow every time for one position, it's not going to happen. It's either that we want an operational city without personal agendas, and we get that done. But Public Works is in a very dire state of emergency. You're not here to see it, but you're going to feel it. Because we're having issues in Public Works. And whether you want to smile about it or not, it's not a joke. There are issues going on. We have people that are out sick. We have people that have left. We have people that have been terminated. We have people out. So at this point in time, we're at a critical. You said you were waiting for the BRC. BRC came back. They're still holding on to hiring freeze. So how are you going to get the job done, and how are we going to operate a city to make it rise to a higher level if we're sitting back with the same thing I want?
okay.
I say we revise this list, get them down to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 that they really, really need, and we vote on it now. This is critical.
I'm all for that. Brianna?
We can't wait.
I don't think that we need to revise the list if these, I think that time and attention went into this, and so we don't have, the reason why they're asking for these positions is because they're vacant, not because we're gonna invent a new position. And so, I'm not cleaning anybody's toilet. Somebody has to, and right now the director's doing it. That seems highly inappropriate because he's supposed to be managing his employees, not cleaning toilets. We don't have a horticulturalist. We're a tree city. We pride ourselves on being a tree city and being a sustainable Maryland city. All of these positions are vital to the operations of the department. And
I came and cleaned the toilet last week for a rental because we had a rental Saturday and Sunday.
I would not eliminate any of these positions. And I think we can, I think we need to fill them. I don't think they're going to get filled tomorrow. So I think we still have time to work on structure, salaries and so on, but I think we post them right away. It's a tough economy, so it's not like these are gonna get filled tomorrow. But we're talking, these are, these are the hardest working people in the city, groundskeeper.
Let's be realistic. You all approved the sanitation position. I don't know how many, I think that was back in May or June. We still haven't been able to fill that position. So it's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight.
I have a problem with approving the exception for public works directors when we have an active assistant public works director and a recommendation to eliminate one of those positions that need to be debated in the whole organizational assessment recommendations we've received.
So as Lincoln points out, it's dire. He'd like to scale it back. If we drop that, would you go with the rest of the list? Is it compromise? Okay, I would do that. Can you do that? Okay.
Hold on.
You do have Leroy that is basically being your public works director, but he's not compensated for that in any way. So I don't know how you all want to handle that, but I mean, I think that still needs to be addressed.
Well, that's a matter of,
But also, like the mayor said, what if he wants to take a vacation? Who's gonna run the department?
that's a matter of
But
redefining
if he
the
gets
position
sick?
with one position instead of two, and then let him, yeah, just put him in as director. But I don't think we need two positions until we hash to that. Anyway, that's a compromise that three of us like, and Cynthia's not here. Do you want to move on that? Just take the public work director off of here for now.
But everything else on the list, I mean, if we take public works director, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 positions, which are mostly everything that is open in public works. I would say, give us a reduced list.
Like
And I
based
would
on
put-
your expertise in running the public works department, Ignale,
You're not gonna get that tonight. And we're trying to make a compromise.
the people who
No, I
work there are
cannot
asking for
vote to
this.
to support 9 exceptions. to
It's
the
11. If
It's 3-1.
It's, no, she won't vote for it.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
3-1. Oh, you're not voting for it?
I would vote to take public works director off of there, yeah.
Well, you could do 2 too, and she gets a vote.
She does not. The charter says the mayor can never vote.
The mayor can vote to break a tie.
Cannot, according to the charter. Jason told us that.
I
You
can
were
show
there
you
for that.
exactly where in the charter that
Charter
is.
says the
Give
mayor
me-
never
Give me
votes.
one moment and I got it.
But if it's 3-1, why are we talking about anything else?
Well, it's not 3-1.
Oh,
He's not voting for it.
I'm not voting for it unless we take the director position off of there until we resolve that discussion next week. I'll do the others.
What you all are not hearing is, what if Leroy wanted to apply for the director? Then the assistant would be vacant. People listening?
no,
He not listening.
no.
I would accept the list as is. I said to pare it down because I was trying to compromise. But
Nobody wants to
but
compromise.
nobody wants to compromise.
I would accept a pared down list, not all positions that are currently vacant and eliminating the public works. Administration give us a smaller list of critical employees, I would support. But not everybody, every position that is currently vacant in public works. And definitely not the public works director until we discuss what is the structure of the Department of Public Works.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember Malave, didn't I just hear you say that if we remove the Public Works Director, you would vote in favor of it?
And reduce.
Oh, she wants to reduce the numbers too.
Not 9 positions. Not
But
9.
what is the basis for that? You just want it less to be less?
Mm.
No, we are under hiring freeze. We're now voting.
You wanna-
We could vote as council to lift the whole hiring freeze. But our resolution said that the administration can bring exceptions for us to consider. Bringing us 10 positions from the Department of Public Works is lifting the hiring freeze for the Department of Public Works. Exceptions mean some part of what you need. And so I would support a few exceptions and the city clerk, which I raised months ago. And
So-
definitely the Department of Public Works, the Director of Public Works not being part of the exception until we discuss what is going to be the organizational changes.
Chair, it said request for exception to fill the essential vacant position, in parentheses, hiring freeze removal, because we held on to the hiring because we were waiting for the BRC and for you guys to make a decision. But what I'm hearing you know, you wanted the hiring freeze to go on until 2030?
The resolution says that the hiring freeze will be in place until the report has delivered and the council has had the opportunity to discuss its findings. This council has not met and discussed BRC findings. We were scheduled to do that on Monday and it had to be postponed. We have not had a discussion on BRC findings. And so that's what the resolution says. And so I find this too early. We have not discussed BRC. There's multiple recommendations that I find valuable, but I want to hear what other council members have. And so asking for everybody in public works to be exempted from hiring freeze is lifting the hiring freeze. Are you voting for lifting the hiring freeze?
Yes.
So Ms. Agnelli,
If I may, Ms.
I
Agnelli,
can't support that.
oh, go ahead, Leroy, I'm sorry.
if I may, Ms. Agnelli, since this hiring freeze been on, we lost 4 employees. 3 central workers for grounds. We only have 2 employees in infrastructure, which means the school to start, we need our sidewalks painted, the crossway painted. We have 2 injuries on sanitation. We can't get it done without hiring anybody.
Agnelli, I don't like it either, but I'm willing to compromise, just take the director position off there for now. And if the director gets sick, because Brianna points out that's something we'll have to deal with. But for right now, I would take,
Nine positions.
I would do the 9 positions as a compromise. I don't like it either, but I would do the 9 positions.
Nine positions of
Your vote is
Oh,
no,
no,
we
no,
get it. Your vote is
Okay.
no.
lifting the hiring freeze for public works.
So Chair, my apologies. I don't want to interrupt the, Councilmember Olave was speaking, but we will have the votes if we remove the Public Works Director. It'll be 3-1. So
Call the
just do that.
question.
Okay,
I call the
Okay.
question.
okay, then call the question. We'll go into legislative session and the motion will be to approve this recommendation without the Public Works Director, because that's going to be held in advance until we meet the BRC report next week, okay? And we'll vote and we'll have the votes, okay? Now let's move on because I went way over and I'm breaking Robert's rules. The first, the mayor reports, we're through that. The first budget amendment had to do with the grants. And Maisha said that was fairly simple. Any questions on that? I've read it. I don't have any problems with it.
No questions.
Okay, we're all right with the
No
budget
questions.
amendment. And the minutes, you can read and make edits and give them to Maisha if you have any. The, Maisha, the next items were just for you to give us an update. They were not for discussion. Can you do them quickly?
You're muted.
Sorry.
Oh, she's muted.
It was just for you all to receive everything. We'd like to move forward on some of these, but I guess we're at a holding pattern because Miss Cynthia wants to vote on these. Cause like the playground, well, no, we removed the playgrounds. Libra, was there anything that we really wanted them to? The bridges, you all had decided on who the vendor was. So it was for the cost involved. So you all have that package now with the permit cost, CPJ cost, and all the expenses for the bridges. So you have that now to review. And then we have all the RFPs, RFQs for the different projects that you all did this survey on now.
And which of these are already in the fiscal year 27 budget that we reviewed?
No, they're not.
None of these.
None of this. Okay, so these would have to be budget amendments after we deal with that. Okay.
Man,
Yes.
these RFPs were done because the administration came to the council and asked permission to get RFPs so we could consider the cost to be included in the budget. We have not considered the total cost of all these RFPs. And I asked the administration for a memo of recommendations and passed this along. I asked them for a summary of what all these RFPs would total.
Is it just one page?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a double-sided.
Okay, yeah.
And this memo that came this afternoon, it's incomplete, Maisha. You listed some of the items, but the total, excluding the signature award, which is prices per location, the total, including the bridge repairs, are $814,128 that would be coming from reserve accounts. These items are not in the budget presented to us in May. We gave the administration permission to get the cost so we could consider. And reserve accounts, yes, we have a nice solid number there, but do we want to spend 10% of our reserve accounts in one fiscal year? So these RFPs help us consider the total cost. For example, the total cost for the electronic signs is $165,000 based on the recommendation of the vendor the administration is telling us. We talked about no more than $250,000. So that falls within our expectations. Now, the cost for the Beckett Field scoreboard is $56,000. We should consider that in line with the feedback we've received from residents that are not considered that a priority. So although all these RFPs have been requested, I posit the idea that we need to discuss each of those items before they're included in the budget and not approve vendors today.
That's logical to me. Lincoln?
But, Mr. Chair, let me just make sure that I'm clear. We weren't voting on anything tonight anyway.
We could.
I
My,
think that's what administration wants from us.
They want us to approve some tonight. Which ones would we approve?
Hold on, Maisha's nodding.
I think I
I don't
misstated
think
it.
there was anything.
Yes, I-
I don't think there was anything. I mean, if you all wanted to move forward, like I know this whole electronic signs. I mean, they've done demos. They've done. I mean, we've gone to the gamut. There's nothing else to do with that. But we didn't put anything on the legislative piece for voting. We presented this. I actually had it in the packet the first August meeting, the first Wednesday meeting. So you all have had a couple of these for a few weeks.
So,
But at the end of the day, yes, there will have to be a budget amendment done for any of these when you all vote on whatever vendor you want to go with.
Okay.
so my recommendation, Mr. Chair, would be for us to discuss these either the next meeting or the meeting thereafter. Because we're
26, I
not
can put this
voting
in
on
because that's a
anything
budget
in-
thing.
in-
Okay.
on this particular list anyway.
Okay. So that covers down through,
I would just move it instead, because the electronic signs has been presented numerous times, it's within the budget expectations and so on, that one could be approved. And that the rest we can add as part of the budget discussion that we have at that meeting where we're going to be discussing budget.
Underground.
And the grant, obviously, accepting money.
well, the grant is a separate item that's already in there.
Yeah.
And,
But
consent
for the
agenda.
rest, I'd be happy to hear what folks have to say.
I don't have a problem
support
with,
all
I
of
don't have
these
a problem with
things.
the signs. Do you have a problem with the signs, Agnelli? Approving the signs tonight?
I have a problem discussing wish list items as separate items. We need to look at how much are we willing to spend from our savings account. And then within that number, how many wish list items we can fund, not just
So you all voted
this
for
one
the
and this one and
signs.
this one. And if the total comes to $814,000, that's it. Let's get it from savings. I want to see the total expenses for the wish list items.
And what Maisha is saying is we can get some of them rolling if we're all convinced that we want those particular items. And it seems to be a unanimous agreement to get these signs. And nobody's questioning whether we should fix the bridges. I mean, that one, so we can do those because we know we're gonna get a 4-0 vote tonight and we get a 5-0 and Cynthia's here.
Also, we may not keep this price because the RFPs don't last forever.
Right.
So if we end up doing this 45 days from now, the price could be different.
This is not in the 26 budget. And
No.
it's not in the proposed 27 budget.
That's correct. She's gonna do budget amendments to the continuing resolution until we approve the budget. We can do a budget amendment to the continuing resolution and add amounts in there if we as a council think those amounts are appropriate. And right now, what I'm saying is I think it's unanimous that the signs are important, and I think it's unanimous that bridges need repairs. So we might as well let those two go. And Maisha can do budget amendments for us for next week that we can do when we do our budget discussion on these two items. Not tonight, but we have to, budget amendment to read in, we need a supermajority.
I
For those two
agree,
items.
those two items are
Okay.
top priorities.
Okay, Maisha, that's the direction. We're moving on. Purchase of
So
stuff.
that's gonna be on legislative agenda, just those two items?
Not tonight, because we don't have the budget amendment in front of us. We
Okay.
have to have a budget amendment that Maisha will have to prepare for us. So next week, that budget amendment is an ordinance which needs to be read in, and then it needs to be voted on. So we'd have to do an emergency or vote it in September, which is coming real soon. So,
Yeah.
but those two are ready for next week. That gives Maisha some homework. Now, residents' concerns, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 residents here.
What about the stump grinding, Chair?
That's part of it too, isn't that one of the items?
No, you didn't mention that one.
I think that's on the list.
It's on
It's
the
on the
list.
list, but
It's
you
on the
didn't
list.
make that as a priority. And based on the feedback.
I think I
it
don't
was
want to
high.
push it. I don't want to push it tonight. If Maisha wants to draft a budget resolution for that, a budget amendment for that, and we'll discuss it next week. Let's do the two. Enough going on here.
If you add the third one, we can have an up and down vote on it.
Yes, we could.
I'll
Go
have
ahead.
all three ready for you.
All right. To do it as a separate budget amendment in case we don't
Yes.
get
I
to
will-
agreement.
I will-
Okay? And Ms. Paul
I'm
Sweet.
lost. What three?
Well, Brianna pointed out, or the mayor pointed out that everybody wants the stump grinding, but I'm not sure that's true. Cynthia's not here, and I haven't given it full thought. I don't know where you stand. But the others are 5-0 and 4-0 tonight, so we're just gonna let Maisha prepare them. So in preparation for the stump grinding, as if we have a 5-0 vote coming, she's gonna prepare a budget amendment separately that we can discuss on the 26th.
And just remember, since all of these are budget amendments, they'll have to have supermajority.
Mm-hmm.
They need a certain majority, and they need to be read in unless they're an emergency. So if we decide we want to make them emergencies next week, Maisha should just write emergency on the top, okay?
All right.
Are we voting on the first budget amendment that is in the package today?
And we're not voting on anything today.
I thought you were voting, because in the legislative meeting, we have the budget amendment, the first budget amendment.
Yes,
was-
we have the one for the grants.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was.
okay. And now Jasmine had a comment there about something.
Oh, Jasmine was just telling you that David Ly's hand is raised virtually, but Cynthia's
Okay.
at the podium. right?
Cynthia's putting, go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you,
Um,
Cynthia.
You're welcome. Chief, I just wanted to ask, I know you gave the dates for the stop sign cameras.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if, I know there's some questions about where people need to stop when it comes to a stop sign. And I'll just take my street, for example, because in order to see coming up Long Branch, you do actually have to go a little beyond the stop sign. So do you know if there's gonna be a line or something?
Yes,
to
they're
think?
going through and making them now.
Okay.
So if
that
you
was-
notice, there was one on Lamont Drive,
No, I haven't
and
noticed, but
today
okay.
they're going around the city to identify where the stop bars. are.
Top boss.
They did them on Topton, I saw.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So they're doing them already,
Okay,
and
thank
we're
you.
doing it in-house.
And,
Okay.
and now
Appreciate
Maisha, can you arrange to let us hear David Lai? That's a Maisha.
Or
for
Jasmine.
us.
He just have to take himself off mute. Unmute.
Oh,
whatever.
I'm next. Or
There you go.
You're good now, David. Welcome.
all right, love hearing my name in meetings. So good evening, everyone. I just want to briefly address the discussion about the survey results and the comment that was attributed to me during that interpretation. So just to clarify, the point about the community survey last year was not about statistical validity. The caution was about statistical significance. So basically, when a survey has a relatively small number of responses, we may not have enough information, or what statisticians call enough statistical power, to determine whether apparent differences in the results reflect a real difference in the broader community or are simply due to chance. So that does not mean that we throw out surveys or never do them again, or ignore responses. So every response does provide useful information, but it does mean we do need to be careful about the conclusions we draw from surveys. So we should recognize that what numbers can tell us, and just as importantly, what numbers or survey responses cannot tell us. So a survey can be perfectly valid and still not have enough responses to support strong conclusions from a statistical significance test. Those are two different concepts. And even when we can calculate statistical significance, numbers alone do not tell the whole story. We also need to consider the potential sources of bias, which is something one of the council members brought up tonight. So for example, who chose to respond? Are some groups more likely to participate than others? The more limited our methods of collection, just in general, the greater the risk we run of not fully representing the community as a whole, on top of collecting the sufficient number of responses that we do need. So we saw an example of this tonight in the presentation of the parking study results. So just from straw polling, from who shows up to council meetings, we would think that the entire city is having a crisis over parking. But what the study, or at least my interpretation of it from tonight's presentation, was that it's highly localized, right? So that's why it's important for us to really look into who's responding to surveys, how are we conducting the surveys. So of course, the people who are experiencing issues or do come to council meetings and who do voice their concerns are important and they're valid. But we should also be cautious about assuming that the views of those who respond to surveys or those who come to the council meetings, or even my view as a speaker tonight, or whoever is the most vocal, are people who reflect the views of everyone or the entire city. So surveys can be helpful. I personally do think surveys are valuable tools, but like any tool, they have to be interpreted carefully and with an understanding of both the strengths and limitations. And any honest researcher will tell you what the limitations are, and that's what I was attempting to do, and also what I'm attempting to do in my explanation tonight. So good decisions come from combining survey results with the context, understanding of the community and the respondents, and being aware of the sources of bias. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That reminds me of Brianna's comment about Emmett Jordan. Anything that could be said in 15 words. But I will say that David, I think, was saying the same thing that I intended to say, but I abbreviated. Thank you, David, because there is a difference between statistical validity and what you can take from the results you take from. But for sure, there are limitations, and there's always a valuable tool, as David pointed out, hearing from the community. We can also make the same argument that when you hold an election and only 8% of the people vote, and how statistically valid is that? So again, let's move on here. Any other residents want to address us tonight? Thank you, David. Thank you, thanks for your explanation. I would say we should go into legislative session, and I have a motion to adjourn and go into legislative session.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn the workshop meeting and go into our legislative meeting.
Second.
Okay, and none opposed, so I'm gonna say we're going. That's 4-0, Maisha. I call it to order. The non-consent agenda, I would entertain a motion that we do that.
I would
Thank you, everybody.
move. So
Sorry.
I'm sorry, maybe it's late, I'm tired. Did we come to a conclusion regarding the lifting of the hiring freeze?
Yes, we're gonna make a
Okay.
separate motion, but let's do the consent agenda first, and then we'll have a non-consent agenda we'll add.
All right. I'll move that the City Council of the City of New Carrollton approve the consent items listed herein 1 through 3, approve June meeting minutes, June 8th, council workshop meeting, June 10th, council workshop and legislative meeting, June 26th, council closed meeting. Number 2, approve July meeting minutes, July 1, council workshop meeting, July 15, council workshop meeting, and approve ordinance 2701, budget amendment number 1, amending ordinance 2616 fiscal year 27 budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, and just for clarification, that a budget amendment deals with the grant, okay?
A correction, number 3, amending ordinance 2616 fiscal year 27 budget. We haven't approved a 27 budget. This is amending the 26 budget.
Well,
No,
no, we're
Actually,
it's amending the continuing resolution.
yes, which is,
That's
and
27.
we're in fiscal year 27 right now, so.
So the 27, ordinance 26-16 is the continuing resolution?
Yes, because it passed in fiscal year 26. Since we're in fiscal year 27, it has to be fiscal year 27 budget. We
No,
passed it before June 30.
Yeah, we
After
did.
July 1, we're in fiscal year 27 right now.
We're
but
in-
we are amending, this is a budget amendment to fiscal 26 budget.
No.
We're in
No.
27. We just limited the dollars.
We can't amend the budget that expired on June
So
30th.
the-
We're amending the budget that we are currently operating under.
That's
which
how we
is
need to
fiscal
hurry
year.
up and do a
Okay, if
budget.
that is the case,
Because I hear
is
this
this a
now.
budget amendment that needs 4 votes?
Yes,
Or
Yes,
it needs a
it needs-
super majority of the members present.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a consent agenda. Now we discussed that. I don't think there's any other discussion. All in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that's 4-0. There's none opposed. And now I'll entertain a motion that we add
I will
a
move,
modification of the lifting the hiring freeze for positions in Public Works and City Clerk. And the modification is that we're taking the director off for now.
yeah, you got it, because you.
You got it, Lincoln?
Mr. Chair, I move that we vote on the request for exceptions for the Department of Public Works minus the Public Works Director, and we also include the city clerk.
City Clerk's on there,
Oh,
in the bottom.
my apologies.
Did I get a second on that?
Second on the motion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion at 9:20 at night?
For
34.
clarification, for
9:34.
clarification, we are not lifting the hiring freeze for all positions in the city of New Carrollton.
That's, Maisha's on board and she's hearing you, and that's exactly correct.
So only for
There's
the
still
ones
pe-
identified
Yeah.
on this memorandum, with the exception of
I thought
Public
I
Works
said-
Director.
I thought I said Public Works.
And so,
You
Ms.
did.
Agnelli, you will see even the admin assistant is not even on there.
That's right. So it's not all administration. It's what they need in Public Works minus the director and a city clerk. And Leroy's online. You heard what he said, and I think I agree with Lincoln. It's desperate enough. So I would call for that vote. All in favor of this modification of this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay,
We have a 3-1, which is a supermajority under our rules. And Maisha, you can start working with Leroy. And this agenda has only one other thing, closed session. Anybody want to do that? Let's get a motion to adjourn. I don't have Cynthia here.
I'll move that we adjourn this meeting at 9:35 PM.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. Anyone opposed? Then it passes 4-0. Thank you, Maisha.
And I just want to say thank you all for approving those
Thank you, everyone.
motions.
Yeah, thank you,
for
Maisha.
additional information on the fund balances.
Okay.
And then later on, he modified